Alright, so for my course project, I'm going to do it on how to reduce the gender pay gap in professional sports. So I'm going to first take a look at Caitlin Clark, who is an up-and-coming star basketball player for the University of Iowa, and she's taken the world by storm and been in countless advertisements. She's become a household name to the average Joe in America. And there's also a phenomenon called Clarkonomics. That's just a financial phenomenon that shows how much she affects the statistics of viewership and financials in the NCAA. So tickets to her game this year were nearly 200% more expensive than the previous year. A record 10 million people watched her play in last year's championship game versus LSU. More than 3 million viewers watched her break the record for points scored as a D1 basketball player, regardless of gender. And in January, the NCAA signed a broadcasting deal with ESPN that valued the annual rights to broadcast the women's March Madness tournament at over $60 million, which is 10 times the previous deal ESPN made with the NCAA in 2011. So why is Caitlin Clark so influential? Number one is that she's an amazing basketball player, but what takes her to superstardom off the court as well is effective marketing campaigns. This image is kind of hard to see, but there's a banner that's the entire height of a building in Iowa City with her shooting a three-pointer, and across the entire intersection is just a small basketball hoop printed out with Nike's signature and the University of Iowa's logo that says, "This was never a long shot." Players are what make professional sports leagues so successful. At the end of the day, professional sports is just an entertainment industry, and the more appealing that the players are, and the stars are especially, the more people will watch overall. So Caitlin Clark has appeared in advertisements for Nike, Gatorade, and State Farm. So she's been in the eye of the average Joe just as much as people who do watch women's NCAA basketball often. Another reason is a feud with Angel Reese, the number 7 overall draft pick to the Chicago Sky. And this feud had also boosted her NIL endorsements and the money she was able to make while in college, because the feud just created buzz between both of them. So the solution to the gender pay gap in professional sports? Expeditiously marketing female athletes to the general public. So let's take a step back and look at when the NBA was on the rise. So here is an illustration of Indiana State with Larry Bird and Michigan State with Magic Johnson. So these two played in the national championship game while they were in college, and it was the most viewed and highly rated. Their title game was remains the highest rated college basketball game ever. And when they finished the game and entered the NBA the next year, the NBA Finals were on broadcast on tape delay at 11:30 p.m. It was far from the first thing on the mind of any TV channel or any station that was trying to make a profit. What made them so successful and helped the NBA so much was that they were marketed to an insane degree. Both players fit into the image of their cities. Larry Bird is from a small town in Indiana. He's a soft-spoken guy, and he went to the city of Boston, which is known as a blue-collar, hard-working city. And Los Angeles is known for its flair and luxury. And Magic Johnson was a flashy player on the basketball court, but also had a charisma about him off of it. Once they hit the league, in the 1980s decade, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird played in every single game, every single series for the NBA Finals. They played against each other 3 times, and these ratings were exponentially better than anything in the 70s decade. So now let's look at the current day NBA example. LeBron James effect. It's similar to the Clarkonomics that I talked about with Caitlin Clark. His viewership and income and any recordable stat will be exponentially better than the next best player in the NBA. On opening night without LeBron in 2014, there was a 1.8 rating with 2,643,000 viewers. So LeBron did not play on the opening night of the NBA as a league, but his first game of that season had a 2.6 rating, which was double the 1.8 of the game without him. and 4 million viewers, almost double the amount of viewership as well. And in his return to Cleveland, the telecast went up 117% in US household rating. So why is LeBron James so influential? While he's widely considered one of the best basketball players to ever play, he's also one of the most marketed athletes of all time. He has deals with Nike, Pepsi, State Farm, and Beats by Dre. So similar to Caitlin Clark, not only is he an amazing basketball player, but he's in the eye of the general public almost as much as any normal celebrity is. So let's ask, why is there a gender pay gap in sports? So overall with the gender pay gap, we know that 92% of the pay gap is explained and 8% is unexplained. So with the 92 is explained, two of the biggest factors are occupational segregation and years of experience. But in the unexplained, it's discrimination and subtle barriers, which are two of the reasons that women are paid less in sports. So I'm going to look at, where does the U.S. women's national team fall under these? So the U.S. women's national team made history. Last summer, the U.S. women's national team played the Netherlands and drew up 6.43 million viewers on Fox, surpassing the previous record of viewership by 1 million. And two of the reasons is Alex Morgan and Megan Rapinoe. Alex Morgan, so similar to LeBron and Caitlin Clark, she's a great player on the field. She became the second American woman to record 20 goals and 21 assists in a calendar year, but she was also one of the first women's soccer players to appear on the cover of FIFA, a soccer video game. And one thing that's interesting about her is that she is very willing to negotiate wages, which is also a supply side reason for the unexplained pay gap. Morgan was crucial in the fight for equal pay against the U.S. Soccer Federation. So while she's making plays on the field, she's also in national news, fighting for women's equality in pay. And then we'll look at Megan Rapinoe. So she's also one of the best players on the team. She is an Olympic gold medalist, and she's a FIFA Women's World Cup champion 2 times. But what made her go into the spotlight so much was that she was an extremely outspoken advocate for social issues similar to Alex Morgan. Her main area of focus was the LGBTQ plus rights and the gender pay equality, or equity. She was named to the Time 100 Most Influential People in the World in 2020. So if we're looking at how they're going to be able to close the gender gap in professional sports, the NCAA and WNBA must grow their marketing campaigns for their star athletes to create household names, similar as the NBA had done in the 80s with Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, that skyrocketed the entire league's income and success overall. With Caitlin Clark at Iowa, we are watching the exact same thing happen right now. Her parallel would be LeBron James, who is currently playing in the NBA, and he is the most marketed athlete in the league. But Caitlin Clark is on the right track. If the NCAA and WNBA and all of the female sports organizations are able to market their athletes as that they are stars and celebrities, people will watch their games even more, because at the end of the day, sports is just an entertainment industry, and the more fame and stardom that their players have, the more profits and increased success they will have as organizations and as women's professional sports in general. We're excited.